Om Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Sadashiva
Shivasamrambha
Samarambham
Shankaracharya
Shankaracharya
Madhyamam Asmadacharya
Asmadacharya
Paryantam
Vande Guru
Vande
Guru
Guru Paramparam.
Paramparam. Om
Om
Sahana Bhavatu
Bhagavatu
Sahana
Sahanao
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam
Sahaviryam
Karavavai
Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu
Tejasvinavadhitamavindishavahi.
Dishavahay.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. So we are on which verse now? 22, right?
22.
22. So let us chant that. Shri Bhagavanuvāca
Shri Bhagavan
Yam labdhva chaparam labham
Yam Labhva Chaparam
Manyate nadikam tataha
Manyate
Yasmin sthithau na dukkhena
Yasmin Smito Dukkena
Gurvanapi vichalyate.
Gurunapi Vichalyate.
So yam labdhva, having gained, tataha adhikam. So having gained, tataha adhikam means better than that, more than that, and na aparam labham. So tata adhikam has to be connected to na aparam labham. You can figure out that yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tata. That is the sloka. You have to break it up. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. Okay. So then you have to now rearrange it by saying tataha adhikam, better than that. Better than what? Yam labdhva, that which has been gained. Then the na you have to pick up from here and put it in front of aparam, and it becomes na aparam labham. There is no other gain better than that which has been gained. Manyate, he thinks. And then yasmin sthitaha, in that, in one is sthita, established. Once you are established in that, guruna api dukkhena, even in great sorrow, na vichalyate, one is not disturbed, one is not affected. So two definitions are being given over here. And Krishna says, yam labdhva, having gained that. Having gained what? Remember, we are talking about a person who has done nididhyasanam. And nididhyasanam means he has done shravanam and he has done mananam. And therefore, what does one gain out of this nididhyasanam? He understands that I am purnaha. He understands that purnatvam is there, I am complete. So yam labdhva means having gained this purnatvam, or more correctly, having owned up this purnatvam of mine, having understood that I am complete, aparam labham, all other accomplishments in life. Aparam is others, labham is accomplishment or gains. So all other aims, all other gains in life, all other goals in life, na adhikam manyate, they are not needed anymore. One can go without those gains also, without those accomplishments also, which means having owned up my purnatvam, every other accomplishment becomes very insignificant for me. And why so? Yasmin sthitaha. So yasmin has to be taken as atmanishtha. So having been established, yasmin is in atma, sthitaha, established. Yasmin sthitaha, Having remained in this Atmanishtha, in this Atma Swarupa of mine, na vichalyate, one is not shocked, one is not shaken. Vichalyate, shaken by Guruna Dukkhena. So Guruna Dukkhena, Guru Dukham. The Guru Dukham must be understood carefully. It is not Dukham given by a Guru. Okay. Somebody might say, Guruna Dukham, Guru gives me Dukham. No, no. Guru here is not a noun. It doesn't refer to the teacher. Guru is an adjective, Visheshanam. And Guru means of the highest degree. So Guruna Dukkhena means even in the greatest of all sorrows, na vichalyate, one is not shocked by what? Anything. Even the greatest of sorrows, one is not shocked. Okay. One has to understand very carefully over here. Yasmin sthitaha, remaining in the Atma Swarupa, established in Brahman. What does it mean? By now we have done it again and again and again. When I say I am established in Brahman, what exactly does it mean? If you have to explain, once somebody said that a person who has really understood a subject can explain it to his 95-year-old grandmother. So, explain this.
So when the Veshi is the Sakshi all the time and the Vesham is only during transactions.
Which means what?
Which
What is
means
he remains with
understand
knowledge that I am
He
Brahman,
remains with the knowledge, which means
always.
he always remembers that I am Brahman, I am Atma. So, Yasmin Sthitaha, being established in Brahman or Atma, means that I never forget that I am Atma. And therefore only Guruna Dukkhena, even in the worst tragedy in life, na vichalyate. Right? So there is a story, I don't know if you know, the story about the what and so what. Do you know the story?
Yes.
You know the story, right? So this is a transition from what to so what. Earlier whenever any tragedy occurred, any event occurred, I would jump up and down and say, what? Now after Jnanam, I simply say, so what? So the movement from what to so what is the movement from Jnani to Ajnani. Very simple definition. So Guruna Dukkhena, even in the worst tragedy in life, he is not upset. And therefore Krishna says, Jnanam will remove your sorrow. Now again, this understanding has to be very, very careful over here. These are very, very subtle points which you have to understand very correctly. The question here is, this sorrow, is it an adhyasa on the mind? Is it a superimposition on the mind or not?
It is.
So sorrow is a adhyasa on the mind is what you say, right? Anybody has a different opinion?
Not on mind.
No. What is the relationship between sorrow and the mind? Is it a adhyasa, adhyastha relationship? Is the relationship of superimposed and the locus of superimposition, or is it some other relationship? Why I'm asking is, Krishna says, Jnanam will remove sorrow. Sorrow is in the mind. And therefore, if Jnanam has to remove sorrow, remember, Jnanam can remove only that which is superimposed. Jnanam will not remove the dirt on your shirt, because the dirt on your shirt is not superimposed. But Jnanam will remove the red color on your white shirt, which is caused by the proximity of your white shirt to a red lamp. What is the difference?
One needs karma, the other does not require karma to be intellectually understood.
The dirt on your shirt requires washing, requires karma to be removed, and therefore Jnanam will not do anything to that. After all the Jnanam in the world, your shirt will remain dirty. But the red color on your shirt cannot be removed by any amount of work because it's not really there, it is superimposed. And therefore, the question is, when Krishna says Jnanam will remove sorrow, is he not saying that Jnanam is a superimposition upon the mind?
Yes.
Whatever answer you give, yes, no, maybe, you have to supplement it with the relative logic. Otherwise, there is no mananam.
Acharya is, as to my understanding, he's saying that sorrow is superimposed on the mind because the jnani understands that he's not the mind.
Well, there are two statements you have made. Sorrow is superimposed upon the mind, and Jnani understands that he is not the mind. Which statement is correct?
Jnani understand is not the mind is definitely correct.
Correct. Then, anybody can see where I am leading to? What is the purpose of this question?
Sir,
OC and RC
sorrow is my
differentiating.
interpretation or my thinking. Sorrow, I mean, it's like we say, Jagat is there. It is our interpretation of it which makes it joyful or sorrowful or
So what you
happy
are
or
saying is
sad.
sorrow is a adhyasa on the mind. You are also agreeing with that. If you are interpreting that
I'm
sorrow is
saying
there in the mind, then you are agreeing that your sorrow is not really there. Therefore, it is a adhyasa. Is that what you are saying, Vinitaji?
Sir, what I'm saying is sorrow. Yes, sorrow is my interpretation. It's just there. It's how I look at it as joy or sorrow. That's what I'm trying to say.
No. Sorrow is definitely sorrow. You cannot say sorrow is joy. There's no
Okay.
what you call interpretation like that.
So, Acharya, is it not superimposed on OC?
No. I am asking a very simple question. Is sorrow superimposed upon the mind, or is it not superimposed upon the mind? That is the question.
Not on mind,
No,
but
not. Don't
superimposed.
bring another thing. Is it superimposed upon the mind or not is the question. In short, what is the relationship between the
No.
mind and the sorrow and mind sorrow? So if you are saying it is not superimposed upon the mind, then you are saying it belongs to the mind.
No.
It is superimposed, but I am not the body mind sense complex. I am Atman alone.
That I am not disputing the fact. I am asking you, see that this is the, when you study Vedanta, you have to answer the question to the point. Don't tell me what you are not.
It's superimposed, yes.
It
On
is.
mind.
It is cause and
is
product
superimposed.
relationship.
Anybody who says here, anybody who says
Sorrow belongs to the
not
mind.
superimposed.
It is.
Sorrow belongs to the mind
So Miraji, can you
Sorrow
explain
is
that?
a product.
because a Jnani knows that he is not the
No,
body-mind
don't bring the
complex.
jnani into this.
Okay. Okay, so
Mind and
it
sorrow.
belongs to the mind.
How?
It's a vritti.
Very good.
Um,
Okay, the
yes.
mind function is to produce vrittis, thoughts. Sorrow is a
Yes.
thought. And therefore, sorrow belongs to the mind. It is not a superimposition on the mind. Okay?
Yes.
Sorrow belongs to the mind. The relationship between mind and sorrow is not adhyasa adhishthanam. It is not the locus and superimposition. That is not the relationship between the mind and sorrow. That is very important to understand. The sambandha between sorrow and mind is guna and guni. It is the locus, and guni is the locus, and guna is that which belongs to the locus, not superimposed. Okay. So the mind is definitely, the sorrow is definitely belonging to the mind. Okay. And to expect Krishna's statement to be understood by saying that Jnanam can remove that sorrow which belongs to the mind is like my telling you that you don't need to exercise. Jnanam will reduce the excess weight of the body. It is the same logic. The excess weight of the body is an attribute belonging to the body. Sorrow is an attribute belonging to the mind. And just like Jnanam cannot help you to lose weight of the body, Jnanam cannot help you remove sorrow from the mind. Is that clear? If you
No.
think that Jnanam is going to remove your sorrowful thoughts, then you are not understood Vedanta. Oh, I've got you all into this. Anybody wants to explain that? So this is the most common mistake that we make.
Can
We
I
think
try
that,
to
Janji,
please Medaji, go ahead.
Jnanam? Okay, so we missed an important step when we say Jnanam removes sorrow. There's an important step which is that Ajnanam. So Jnanam removes Ajnanam, the ignorance,
Yes.
and all these things, sorrow, krodha, everything, kama, they're all products of Ajnanam. So
Yes, agreed.
yeah,
But
so
my
Jnanam
point is very
works
simple.
on only ignorance.
Jnanam removes only Ajnanam, right? And
Yes.
you have to remember that always. Jnanam can remove only Ajnanam, and Ajnanam gives rise to certain products. What is the net effect of Ajnanam? You think that something which does not belong to you belongs to me. Which is why I use the example of the body. Because you think you are the body, you say I am fat or you say I am thin. But you would not say that by studying Vedanta, I will lose weight. Will you? Then, when the mind has sorrow, which means what? It has a sorrowful vritti, it has a dukkha vritti. Instead of saying that this mind has a dukkha vritti, you say, I am sorrowful. That is the product of Ajnanam. That adhyasa, that superimposition of the sorrow upon you, the Atma, that is the adhyasa. And therefore, as Medha says, the Ajnanam is removed, which means you will simply say that I am not the mind. And therefore, the mind can continue to be sorrowful, but I am not sorrowful. You see, the mind is what? Anatma. Vritti is what? Anatma. Mind's job is to have vrittis. You will have sorrows, you will have sorrowful thoughts, you will have joyous thoughts. One of the most common problems in Vedanta, obstacles in Vedanta, is that you think that by studying Vedanta, your mind will no longer have sorrowful thoughts. Isn't that a common understanding, that my mind will not be sorrowful if I have Vedantic knowledge? That is the problem. That understanding has to be very clearly removed, because sorrow will definitely come and go in the mind because it belongs to the mind. Happiness will definitely come and go in the mind because it belongs in the mind. What happens is, because of the ajnanam, the sorrow in the mind or the happiness in the mind is transferred to me, the Atma, and therefore it becomes the adhyastha sorrow on the adhishthanam Atma. That is due to ajnanam, and that is where jnanam plays a role. Okay, remember that whenever knowledge comes in, you have to understand two things, or you have to analyze it always. Which orders of reality does mind and sorrow, they belong to which order of reality? Which is
Vyavharika.
Vyavaharika.
Vyavharika.
somebody is pratibhasika, it is not correct. Okay, the mind is vyavaharika. What about sorrow?
It's also Vyavharika.
That is also
Sorrow
Vyavaharika.
is also vyavaharika. What about atma?
That's parimarthika.
Paramarthika.
And therefore,
Paramarthika.
between mind and sorrow, which are both vyavaharika satyam, the sambandha, the connection is guna guni sambandha. But a guna guni sambandha cannot exist between atma and sorrow, because atma is paramarthika and sorrow is vyavaharika. And therefore, the connection cannot be guni. It can only be adhyasa, adhishtanam connection. And therefore, by negating the vyavaharika sorrow as mithya, jnanam effectively removes sorrow from the atma, not from the mind. Are we clear?
Ji.
What is the practical understanding of this? That a jnani will never be sorrowful?
Because he will not be identifying himself with the body. So
The jnani's mind will run through the whole gamut of emotions which your and my mind run through.
Yes.
The only difference is, as jnani, I will know that they belong to the mind and not to me. Right? Remember that with reference to the vyavaharika mind, whenever we talk about the vyavaharika mind, the dukkham is also vyavaharika. And we are not saying that vyavaharika dukkham cannot be reduced. Okay? This is very, balancing trick over here. I am saying jnanam can remove adhyasa, but I am not saying that vyavaharika dukkham cannot be reduced. May not be possible to remove completely, but it cannot be reduced. It can be reduced. And remember that vyavaharika dukkham reduction tool is already there with us. What is that?
Sannyasa.
What is the tool for reducing your thoughts of sorrow in your mind?
Nididhyasana.
Karma yoga.
the mind.
Jnanam.
We have a tool which all these things are there, but that tool was simply called FIR.
FIR.
Right. So any FIR reduction, remember, reduces the fluctuations in your mind, which is nothing but reducing the thoughts in your mind, which is nothing but reducing the vyavaharika dukkham. What is the difference between reducing the vyavaharika dukkham and reducing the paramarthika dukkham? Paramarthika dukkham is not there. Therefore, removal of paramarthika dukkham is jnana sadhyam. It's a product of jnanam. Paramarthika vyavaharika dukkham is really there in your mind. And therefore, removal of that is not jnana sadhyam. It is prayatna sadhyam. It's a product of effort. And that effort is in the direction of reducing your FIR. So there are two ways. The problem in your mind, the sorrow in your mind can be addressed, but it requires sadhana. It requires FIR reduction, which requires karma yoga, upasana yoga. Any mental discipline is called yoga only, right? The sadhana chatushtaya sampatti word is aimed at reducing your FIR, which is aimed at reducing vyavaharika dukkham. So any yoga, the word yoga here is referring to sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Any yoga is aimed at reducing the vyavaharika dukkham only, the FIR reduction only, right? Shastra does not promise you that, Krishna does not promise you that jnanam will remove the sorrow from the mind. That is why yoga is also being talked about. We talked about Ashtanga yoga at great length earlier. That Ashtanga yoga is another name for sadhana chatushtayam, which is another name for FIR reduction, which is meant for bringing around reduction in the sorrowful thoughts which you have. So mental disciplines can bring about reduction of FIR. But total elimination of sorrow, dukkha vritti, from the mind is never possible. The mind will never be free of sorrow totally. It will always have some thoughts. But the only place from which sorrow can be removed totally is from the Atma, because there really was never any sorrow in the Atma. It was only adhyasa, right? And hence, mental pain cannot be totally avoided at all, even by a jnani. That is why they say jnani is the most compassionate of all people. Because he knows mental pain also. Remember, mental pain has got utility. If you have never suffered mental pain ever in your life, if there has been no mental pain ever in your life, you will be the most non-compassionate person available on this earth. Only if you have suffered the pain yourself can you understand the pain that somebody else goes through. And that is compassion. And so Krishna is not saying that Jnanam will remove your mental fluctuations. Your mental fluctuations, you work towards. So when you say the man is peaceful, it is always from two angles. From the relative angle, through FIR reduction, he is peaceful. And from the absolute angle, he is peaceful by understanding that, yes, he is not a locus for the sorrow at all. That's the meaning of this very, very beautiful verse. Any questions?
Om sir, will the catalyst example work for this, or is it oversimplifying?
What is the catalyst example?
Jnanam being the catalyst.
No, Jnanam cannot touch your mental sorrows, catalyst or otherwise. The only way to reduce your mental fluctuations is to work on FIR. Remember that a person who does only sadhana chatushtayam without coming to Jnanam can also be very peaceful.
Yes.
But not absolutely peaceful.
Right. Apekshika and Atyantika.
Apekshika Shanti and Atyantika Shanti.
Atyantika.
So Apekshika Shanti is possible without coming to Jnana. And in fact, most of the people in this, most of the yogis who are very peaceful are Apekshika peaceful only. They don't have Atyantika peace because they have never really come to Jnana.
Sir?
Yeah.
You said that in this verse, two more definitions are given. So Yasmin Sthita is one.
We're coming to that. Okay. These verses. Yeah. So
I thought the verse is over.
No, it's over. So you have yam labdva chaparam labham. So that's also one. And the two pieces are there. As you progress in the verses, you will come to know. So let's look at verse number 23. We will chant. Tam vidya dukkha sanyoga.
Tam vidya
yoga
Yogam yoga sangitam.
Viyogam yoga samgitam
Sanischayena yoktavyah.
Sanishchayena yogyah
Yogo nirvinna chetasa.
Yogo nirvinna chetasa.
So tam vidyat. You should know. You should know what? That state which is dukkha, sanyoga, viyoga. You should know that dukkha sanyoga is association with sorrow. Viyoga is severing of that association. And therefore, dukkha sanyoga viyoga can be taken as severance of the association with sorrow. Yoga sangitam. Sangitam means called by the name of. The yoga sangitam is called by the name yoga. So tam vidya dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga sangitam. You should know that yoga is another name for that state where there is severance of association from sorrow. And saha yoga, that yoga, which yoga? That yoga which leads to a state of severance of association with sorrow. Saha yoga yoktavyaha should be practiced. Nischayena, very firmly. Anirvinna chetasa, with a mind that is tireless, with a mind that is firm, that is not discouraged by any problems that you have. Okay. So we saw that there was a definition of Atyantika Sukham. What was that? Yam ladva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha. Right? And therefore, yasmin sthitona dukkhena gurunapi navachalyati. The one who is established in Atma, who knows that is Atma, he is not disturbed by anything happening in the mind. The essence of the last verse. And therefore, it was Atyanta Sukham or Apekshika Sukham?
Atyantika.
Adyantika.
We talked about Apekshika Sukham a lot. But remember that definition was not of Apekshika Sukham. It was Atyantika Sukham. Apekshika Sukham I talked about to show that through effort, through yogic effort, you can get only reduction in FIR, which is what we call Apekshika Sukham. But last verse was not about Apekshika Sukham. It was about Atyantika Sukham. And the trouble with that interpretation is that I might think that out of meditation, I am going to get happiness. And this is quite a common trend of thought, that in meditation, I feel happy. Right? If you ask somebody why he meditates, the chances are 9 out of 10 people will say that it makes me happy. Right? Yes or no? I meditate because I'm happy, because it makes me happy. And therefore, the answer that most people will give you is that happiness is born out of meditation. It's a product found in meditation. We have to remember that any happiness, whether it is born out of sense pleasures or born out of meditation, any happiness born out of sense pleasures will be there as long as the object of sense pleasure is there. And by that definition, any happiness born out of meditation will last as long as I am meditating. When I am out of meditation, a lot of people call it Samadhi Ananda. That Samadhi Ananda will go away. And that is why Vedanta discourages looking upon meditation as a source of pleasure. Remember, we are not denying that Dhyanam can give you pleasure. Why can Dhyanam give you pleasure? What is the reason?
We forget our worries when we meditate.
Because your mind is focused. You are reducing FIR. A reduced FIR results in a quiet mind. That quiet mind reflects the happiness of your nature. Your Atma Ananda is reflected in a quiet mind. Remember always, Ananda doesn't belong to the mind at all. But when the mind is quiet, it is a more appropriate reflecting medium for Atma Ananda. And that is why any yogic effort which reduces your FIR will also give you pleasure. Meditation reduces FIR. It converts the mind into a more subtler reflecting medium. And during the period of meditation, since there are no disturbing thoughts or very minimal disturbing thoughts, that mind reflects the Atma Ananda. And therefore you say, I am happy. The moment you're out of meditation, that state of quietude is gone, and therefore the Ananda also goes away. So Vedanta says, any Ananda which arrives in time also departs in time. And hence Krishna is saying, don't look for such temporary coming, going Ananda. Look for that Ananda which never comes and which never goes. That infinite Ananda look for. And if I have to look for infinite Ananda, remember, I cannot look for it. it must be already here. Infinity means it's already here, because what I get in time will be lost in time. And therefore, the acquisition of infinite ananda praptihi, the acquisition simply means that I am removing the superimposed sorrow of the mind from my real nature, the Atma. Getting infinite ananda is not acquiring ananda, but it is removing the obstacles which are there in understanding my true nature as Atmananda. So to understand that, we can look at if you are ill and you go to a doctor, the common understanding is what? The treatment gives me health, right? The treatment from a doctor gives me health. But from the Vedantic angle, the disease is an acquired one. It is superimposed. And when the superimposition is removed, then you are back to your Swarupa. Your Swarupa is good health. Your nature is good health. That is why in Sanskrit, what is the definition of health?
Swasthya.
Not having
Swastaha, right?
Swastha.
Which is Swastaha. Swa means Atmani Swarupa, in my own nature. Staha means established. If I am established in my own nature, health is my natural state. And disease is something which is acquired because of incorrect living. Similarly, sorrow is something which is acquired by incorrect thinking. And therefore, Krishna says, Dukkha Sanyoga Viyogam. By removing the association, by negating that unnatural sorrow, the sorrow which doesn't belong. Adhyastam means superimposed. Superimposed means it doesn't belong there naturally. Why does it not belong there naturally? Because every sorrow in this world belongs to three things. Either the body, or the mind, or the world. And remember, you are not the body, you are not the mind, and you are not the world. Neither the body, nor the mind, nor the world is your true nature. And therefore, any sorrow which belongs to them, if it appears to be on you, remember that it is a superimposition. What do you have to do? Pick up that sorrow and hand it back to its owner, either body or mind or the world. This handing over back to Anatma is what is called Viyogam, right? Separation of the Jivatma from the Anatma. That is called Viyogam. Remember, the Jivatma cannot be separated from Paramatma, but Jivatma can definitely be separated from Anatma. Jivatma cannot be separated from Paramatma. Why?
because both are same.
Because both are same. Both are same, there is no joining possible. If no joining is possible, there is no separation possible or required. Therefore, what is required is not association with happiness, but disassociation with sorrow, right? Remember that among all the attributes, gunas of Anatma, the most powerful attribute, and indeed it's an intrinsic attribute of Anatma. It is natural. It is swabhavika for Anatma to have dukkham. Dukkham is swabhavika gunaha. It will not go away. It may not reveal itself at some times. But in Anatma, dukkham is very much intrinsic attribute. And therefore, as long as you are associated with Anatma, which is what? Body, mind, Jagat. As long as you are associated anatma, anatma dukkham will always be present. This anatma dukkha viyogaha, separation of me from the anatma and consequently from the anatma dukkham, that viyoga is called yogaha. That is what is yoga. And disassociation from anatma is being presented here as yogaha, association with Paramatma. And what is Paramatma? Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. And that is why Dukkha Sanyoga Viyogam, disassociation from association with sorrow, is what is required. Remember that you do not, through any sadhana, develop a new association with Ananda. You don't need an association with Ananda because Ananda is your very nature. It is Swarupam itself. And that is why this particular technique of separating yourself from the Anatma, that technique itself, which is what we're referring to as Dukkha Sanyoga Viyoga, separation from association with Dukkham, that is Yoga Sangitam. That is called Yogaha. And Krishna says, his advice to all of us, Sanischayena Yoktavyam. One should practice this yoga, otherwise the study will be remaining in the textbook. It will only be academic. Remember that through this long 5-6 year study of the Gita, we are not looking for information. What we require is transforming our personality. Without transformation of the personality, any study, you might study all the Upanishads, you might study all the texts, you might study all the Prakarana Granthas, you might study Bhagavad Geeta, you might study the Bhashyams, you might study the Brahma Sutras. But if your FIR is still highly fluctuating, all this is only words, Shabda Jnanam only. And therefore he says, Sanischayena Yoktavyam. Be perseverant because it takes perseverance. It requires time. Why does it require time? Because there are so many obstacles in the form of emotional obstacles, old thinking patterns. All these have to be removed. And when I sit in meditation, because my mind is quiet, all subconscious problems will surface. Right? As long as I am busy in daily life, my worries remain in the subconscious. And as long as they remain in the subconscious, I am never able to address them. And that is why, if you know, when people are worried, they throw themselves into activity, right? Which is because it relieves them from the worry. Because the activity keeps the mind occupied. The mind doesn't dwell on the worry. But this is the wrong thing to do. Because the worry doesn't go away, it remains suppressed. What should you do? You should sit in meditation, let the worry surface, and then handle the worry. It all takes time. And therefore Krishna says, Sanischayena Yuktavyam. It will take time. Don't get frustrated. Dwell on the teachings. And even if you are not successful the first time, it doesn't matter. Therefore, Anirvinna Chetasa. Let your mind not get depressed, not get frustrated. May you practice this Nididhyasanam. And during this Nididhyasanam, what should you do? All the pain which you have, you hand it back to the three anatmas, my body, mind, and the world. And once having handed the pain back to the anatmas, you say that I was never having any pain. I am ever free from pain. Right? The main thing that obstructs Nididhyasanam is two very strong mental preoccupations. Ahankara, Mamakara. Ahankara is obsession with the body and the mind. Mamakara is obsession with obligations, transactions, responsibilities, family, possessions, all those things. And therefore, ahankara and mamakara always come with endless amount of duties. And because of these duties, the mind is preoccupied. Because of the preoccupation, the mind cannot be successful in nididhyasanam. Therefore, Krishna says, anirvinna chetasa. There will be repeated failures. But may you continue this meditation with a relentless, tireless mind until you reach success. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions? You are able to see where the meditation is leading to, right? There are the obstacles in your which are there. They can be many types of obstacles. One, of course, is the primary obstacle of, I have not yet assimilated the fact that I am Atman. Remember, at this stage of Nididhyasanam, we cannot say that I don't know that I am Atma. You cannot say that I am not convinced that I am Atma. If you are making either of those two statements, if you are saying I don't know that I am Atma, your Shravanam is not complete. And therefore, you need to go back to Shravanam. If you are saying I know that I am Atma, but somehow I am doubtful about that, then your Mananam is not complete. You need to go back to Mananam. If you are able to say convincingly that I am Atma, I have no doubts that my real nature is Atma, but how is it that I don't, reap the benefits? How is it that I am always disturbed? Then the solution is Nididhyasana. The reason why you don't reap the benefits is because there are obstacles. There are habitual thinking patterns in your mind which are obstructing the assimilation of that jnanam. The jnanam is there, doubtless jnanam is there, but it is at the level of the conscious mind. It has not crept into your subconscious mind. And that is what Nididhyasanam is aiming to do. In each Nididhyasanam session, to be able to get benefit from Nididhyasanam, you have to be mercilessly objective about your own self, right? You can open an Excel sheet and write down all your negative qualities. And you can put a 24-digit password so that nobody can see into it excepting you. Okay, very important. You don't want your wife or husband looking into that. So put that password, and one by one in each session, take each one of those qualities and you have to examine those qualities, why they are present in you, using the torchlight of the Bhagavad Geeta. Lord Krishna's words are the torchlight. Using that light in each session, you examine saying that today I am going to work on anger. Because why I will say that? Because you know that you get angry unnecessarily. And then when you sit in the session, you will say, anger belongs where? Anger belongs to the mind. And if I get angry, is it the mind getting angry or is it me getting angry? If the mind is getting angry, I am feeling the anger, but how do I solve this problem? Number one is obviously I would not give in to the anger, but I need to look at the root cause. And therefore, you look at whatever event made you angry and figure out why it made you angry. So that is one of the ways of looking at Nididhyasanam. That is called value meditation. You are meditating on the values. There are various other methods. You try to expand your mind. That is called expansion meditation. So one by one, we'll do a few more of these while we are doing through the session. We don't have too many sessions, but during the 6th chapter, we'll try to cover a few more. So today we'll take up a new whatever you want to call it, we'll take it up Nididhasanam session. So please sit back, close your eyes. We'll try to look at some of the problems which come to us every day, right? Today, one of the problems which is a common problem for every sadhaka, for every nididhyasaka, is the problem of acceptance, right? We have a particular mindset where we examine each situation and try to look at the reason. Many times we are not able to accept what is happening to us. We are not saying that Shastram says blindly accept everything. Krishna doesn't say that. Shastram doesn't say that. In fact, Easwara has given us the power of free will and agami karma arising from that free will, which means what? We should use our free will and our intellect to examine whatever situation comes before me. I have to examine, and I use my free will to initiate action which can control and mitigate many problems which I face. But sometimes I find that even after using all my intellect and my best effort, the problem in front of me does not go away. Certain situations are not amenable to any action on my part. And I often feel, especially if I am a strong Saguna Bhakta, I often say that Bhagavan has closed all the doors in my face. Because whatever I do, the situation does not change. What should I do? I should understand that situations are of two types. There are situations where I have a choice to improve the situation. So I use my free will, I use my intellect and try to get them under control or mitigate the problem. But I should understand also that many times in my life, I will be faced with situations which are choiceless. Whenever there is a choiceless situation, agami karma does not work. And therefore, there is only one thing to do. I have to accept. So acceptance becomes a strategy in any choiceless situation. When this choiceless situation is accepted, it is accepted after I have made my best efforts, I have failed, I know that my money cannot, any amount of money that I have cannot change the situation. I know that my friends and family's help cannot change the situation. I know that I cannot do anything more. And therefore, the only thing to do is to accept the situation. I have to stop all my struggles. And if I pray, I have to pray asking for strength to bear the troubles arising out of the situation. So my meditation is, I am accepting the situation completely. I am sitting quietly. I will tell the mind, this situation I cannot change, and therefore I have to accept. I will not grumble. I will not cry. I will not blame anyone. I will not curse my stars. I will not blame Easwara. I will not look down upon myself. I will not be depressed. I will firmly, quietly, and calmly accept the situation and tell myself, tell my mind, I am prepared to face the situation, and whatever pain it brings, I will bear without protest. I accept the choiceless situation. I accept what is inevitable. I am relaxed. I am calm. I am without resentment. I accept the pain, the discomfort. Cheerfully, I know that this too will pass. Om. Okay, so this is one more of those, Nidhi techniques. You have to pick up, each person will have a different problem to address in every session. Some sessions will require, some problems will require more than one session. So, be anirvinna chetasa. Your mind should not get depressed. Whatever problems are there. And they have to be addressed one by one. As you go through these sessions, you will find that your mind becomes calmer and calmer. The knowledge becomes more and more strong. Sooner or later, you will find that your thoughts will now go more to I am Atma than to I have these problems. And that is where we are aiming at. So with that, I'll stop for today. Any questions? Okay. So thank you for your patience, and we will see you next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you so much, sir.